This is the Iron Sharpens Iron Show with your host, Latrice Cook.
Good afternoon, KAZI listeners. You are tuned into the Iron Sharpens Iron Show, and I am your host, Latrice Cook, on this fabulous Wednesday afternoon, closing out the month of March almost. Well, this is my last show for the month. I have a co-host that's coming in on next Wednesday. So it's exciting to be here, as you know, giving you some information, resources, and some flavor in your ear for those persons that have previously been incarcerated and their families. Because you know that's what the Iron Sharpens Iron Show is about. It's about those places, persons, resources, things that can help or that we talk about that have to do with the criminal justice system, or as I would like to say from time to time, the criminal unjust system. But we got people in the house today that I'm always elated to have sitting in the space next to me. People who really are champions of justice, and whether they're persons who run entities or elected officials or whatever. We love to have the information for you all, the people who most matter, and that is our listening audience. So you are tuned into the Iron Sharpens Iron Show. 512-836-2887 is the number if you'd like to call in and get involved in this conversation. And so what all do I have to say? I have a whole bunch to say, as always. So next week, I will not be in this seat. I will have a co-host who will be hosting our show, and Nook will be here to talk about some of the issues that are facing East Austin and the Black Embassy, some other things that he has going on with his organization and stuff. So he'll be sitting in along with Serafina Valtiera, who is my assistant, and I always say the good things about her is not just that she is my assistant and works for me, but she is also a Chicagoan like I am. So shout out to Chicago always. So I'm glad to be able to have able people in the house. And today, also KZI is being acknowledged in the Texas State Senate for 40 years of service. So shout out to KZI and all of us who helped to make this radio station the great radio station that it is and has been for over 40 years here in the city of Austin, Travis County in Central Texas. So having said all of that, and so you all also know that the last time I was here, it was my birthday. So I have made it through my birthday. And I am, doing a high five to 60 almost. And so I'm really excited about just being able to say that it's a blessing to live. It's a blessing to be able to breathe. And I am thankful for every opportunity that we have had. If you aren't a subscriber to our newsletter, please, as far as MELJ is concerned, which is the organization I founded over 19 years ago now, www.melj.org. Please go out there and subscribe to our newsletter. We have a great story that you might want to read, and thank you to all the people who contributed to our organization in respect to my birthday and did that for the organization. So thank you all for all you all's continued support of MELJ and the Iron Sharpens Iron Show. Without further ado, so let me tell you about all these men. I love good-looking men, and I like to be surrounded. It's just that's important to me to be surrounded. So, our engineers, man, but I am always surrounded by, when I bring people in, and it's good-looking men. I just have to acknowledge that first and forget their titles and make them blush and all that kind of stuff. I love to be surrounded by people who are looking good, feeling good, and doing good things for the people. And so I have you all's elected official, the illustrious Jose Garza, from the Travis County District Attorney's Office, and he has such a wonderful spirit. It's very connecting. I don't know if he ever gets mad. I'd like to see that other side sometimes because he's always granted. Jose Garza was elected Travis County District Attorney on November 3rd, 2020. As a former federal public defender, immigrant rights activist, and leader of the systemic change organization Workers' Defense Project, Jose Garza has a unique view into how our broken criminal justice system works and how it impacts our community. He believes we can fix it together. Jose attended law school at Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and worked for Judge Richard W. Roberts in Federal District Court for the District of Columbia. He returned to Texas to work on the border as an assistant public defender in the first multi-county public defender's office in Texas at Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. I didn't know that. Subsequently, Jose served as an assistant federal public defender in the Western District of Texas, where he represented people accused of misdemeanor and felony crimes. In those experiences, he saw firsthand how our system weights most heavily on people of color, working people, and poor people in immigrant families. Jose later returned to Washington, D.C. to serve as a deputy general counsel for the House Committee on Education and Labor. He went on to work as special counsel to the National Labor Relations Board, where he represented the agency against legal attacks brought by a Republican Congress. He eventually served Secretary Tom Perez as a senior policy official at the U.S. Department of Labor, where he worked to ensure the working people and good people and people of color were able to find safety and stability in good jobs. Jose brings to the office of the district attorney extensive experience building power with communities of color, working families, and immigrant communities across Texas. During his tenure as the executive director of Workers' Defense Project, the organization won significant criminal justice reform in Travis County, won paid sick leave policies in Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas, and advocated for the creation of a public defender's office alongside community allies in Travis County. Welcome, Jose Garza.
Thank you so much, Latrice. It is always good to see you. It is always good to be with you. First of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we missed it, but you look fabulous. You don't look a day over 35, so whatever you're doing, keep on doing it.
I eat a lot of chocolate cake and drink plenty of pop.
Okay, I have to adjust my diet because it is working for you. And congratulations to KAZI. I'm thrilled to hear that that this effort is being recognized, given the recognition it deserves in our legislature. I got to be honest with you, there aren't a ton of great things that happen in that building.
This is true.
But recognizing this work is really important, is really worthy of their time.
Yes.
And I'm really thrilled for you guys. It is also well deserved.
Thank you so much for that. You have a very impressive background. And most of your work has been set in working with those persons that are disadvantaged in some shape, form, or fashion. Before I have you introduce all the others that are here, and I'm going to let you all really talk about the project you all have going, and we're going to spend most of the time on that. I want to talk to you specifically about the naysayers of what's happening in your office, that there's so many people who are disappointed in how you all are allowing cases that they believe should be prosecuted, not be prosecuted, and you're doing alternatives to incarceration. But before you answer that, let me just tell you, I have had personal experience through a family member with the public defender's office. I have had personal experience with the district attorney's office that I just want to say to the listening audience. We are so blessed to have a district attorney's office that is trying to find alternatives to incarceration and that understands that substance abuse and the abuse of it is real in this community and in this county, and that prison is not the place to send people who have drug addiction problems or who have mental health issues. We have got to find alternative ways to assist those persons and still make them be responsible, accountable for their crimes, but more importantly, be able to heal, whatever is going on that made them commit those crimes. And this office has done a phenomenal job, regardless to all you naysayers who gonna hit my, all my social media posts and tell me about, I shouldn't like him, this, that, and the third. There has been significant change. I've heard that from our program participants. I've heard that from other families. So I just have to say, I want to thank you for what you have done, the culture and the environment that you have brought into that office that has made it really change the dynamics of what it has been and made people not be so afraid to enter into the courtroom. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Listen, I'm really proud of what we've accomplished over the last 2 years. We have an enormous amount of work ahead of us, and I'm excited to talk to you about that in just a minute. But I'm also really excited about our progress. And we should be clear that the progress we have made is not progress that we at the district attorney's office has made. It is progress that we have made as a community, aspiring to build a community that is safe because it is healthy and thriving. That is, after all, what public safety is. It is the ability to find a good job to support your family. It is good schools. It is access to health care. It is stability. Stability is what makes our community safe. And for folks listening or watching at home, they should have confidence that we do live in one of the safest communities in the country. Just this week, Forbes magazine rated the safest 15 places throughout the country with a population of 350,000 or more. That is a big list of places, and we are on that list. From 2021 to 2022, our homicide rate has been reduced dramatically by 20%. When you look at the 50 largest communities in the country, we rank in the bottom when it comes to homicide rate. As I said, we are one of the safest communities in the country, but we didn't get here by accident. We got here because, as a community, we have been fighting for our public safety for years, and for many people in this community for decades, if not longer. We are one of the safest communities in the world because in the country, because our elected leaders have invested in resources for our unhoused neighbors. We are one of the safest communities in the country because we have invested in things like paid sick time and adequate wages for working people, and because we are pursuing evidence-based strategies that address the root causes of crime in our community. And you mentioned the naysayers. I mean, let's be honest, there are not too many of them.
No.
But let's talk about the ones that do exist, and let's talk about our record. Over the last 2 years, we have been working hard to meet the needs of victims of crime in our community. We've been working hard to pursue evidence-based strategies to hold people accountable, but more importantly, to prevent future violence. And again, I think our record speaks for itself. Over the last 2 years, we've secured over 5,000 indictments or formal charges for acts of violence in our community. We've secured over 4,000 convictions for acts of violence in our community, but we also acknowledge that we are not going to arrest and prosecute our way out of the challenges that our community faces. That if we are serious, if we are serious about our public safety, we must address the root causes of crime in our community, and we have taken that work very seriously. I'm really glad to be able to introduce to you and to your listeners and viewers, to your audience, my friend and colleague, Ricky Jones, who is a director in our office. Ricky leads our Office of Violence Prevention and Youth Justice. And under Ricky's leadership, We are in the process of building the kind of infrastructure and programs that can address the root causes of violence and make our community more safe. I want to touch on a couple of them, and then if we can, I want to spend a little bit more time talking about one in particular.
Absolutely, and we will do that. I don't know if we have a caller on the line right now, but if we don't, we're going to go to break real quick, and we're going to be back with the Office of Travis County's District Attorney, which is Mr. Jose Garza, along with Ricky Jones, and I forget the other guy's name that's sitting over here looking nice and luscious. What?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be clear. He's the best looking of all of us.
Okay.
And we're also really excited to have with us today Ismael, who is our public information officer.
Wonderful.
Helps us make sure that we're getting to the public, to our community, the information they need.
Well, we're going to be right back with you at that. You're tuned into the Iron Sharpens Iron Show, 512-836-2887 if you want to join into this conversation. And we'll be right back with the Travis County District Attorney, Jose Garza. Don't touch that dial. We are back. You're tuned into the Iron Sharpens Iron Show. I'm your host, Latrice Cook, in the studio this afternoon with Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza and also Ricky Jones, who is the director for one of the programs that they will be introducing and talking to, and Ishmael, who is over the public information. Did I mess that up? That was perfect. And I just want to say that on yesterday, actually, while I was in one of these long 9-hour board meetings, I actually had the opportunity to talk across the board table to actually Williamson County District Attorney Sean Dick was actually in the, I think I said that last name right, was there yesterday. And one of the things that I heard them say, and we kind of went to task on about, was when he was talking about the particular funding that they were seeking was to continue a dedicated prosecutor that they had that was actually for sexual assault crimes. And so they wanted to continue the funding for that, and that was what their presentation and stuff was about. And God, I hope I was able to say this over there. But anyway, it's a little later. But anyway, the point is that as he was talking about it, and one of the presenters that were with him was talking about how they were so excited that they were able to not only do an in-depth investigation to help the officers, but to secure a conviction and make sure that person had to be a lifelong registrant as a sex offender. And I was just turning green, because I'm one of the few people that sits on that board that's not not an elected official, not law enforcement, an attorney, or it's only like I'm the only person really that does reentry, or that's a nonprofit. And so I was turning lime green and everything else. So I finally told, and we ended up having a dialogue about, I hope that while they're doing that they really understand what it means to have somebody be a lifelong registrant, and that you have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted when you are convicting people of something that's serious. Because the one crime that is really hard to recover from is if you get labeled a sex offender, if you commit a crime that has sexual in nature of any kind. And for the people that are listening, who may think that this is the crime to go, please, I'm telling you, it is one of the worst things, and it is one of the hardest things to get reacclimated back into the society once you have that label. And so he made sure that he had a long dialogue, and to the point that he wants to come here, he said, I want to make sure that we don't abuse our power by making sure we understand. He said, I understand that, and I know what our history has been. And he said, and we definitely make sure that when we do something like this, that we have all our T's crossed and our I's dotted. And so, anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, that this is the highest level. I mean, your office is so important. The work and the people, I mean, that are actually looking at these crimes and stuff like, is so important.
Well, I think that anecdote is really on point and is really important for our conversation. Of course, in order for us to have a safe community, we have to hold people accountable, particularly who commit acts of violence, and we do that. But as we were talking about before, the reality is that simply is not enough to secure a safe community. The data and the evidence is really clear that particularly for people who commit nonviolent offenses, that there are other strategies that are better suited to secure our long-term safety and to ensure that people who are accused of nonviolent offenses can thrive in the future and not commit harm in our community. And I think that is our goal. And so it is a big part of our approach here in Travis County. Again, the data is really clear that if we can address the underlying issues that may lead someone to engage in criminal conduct in the first place, we are far better situated to keep our community safe, whether it's substance use disorder, whether it's unmet mental health needs. And so under Ricky's direction and guidance, we have really expanded our work to try to meet people's basic needs. First and foremost, we have expanded our pretrial diversion program for people accused of nonviolent offenses. And generally speaking, the way that program works is that if you are accused of a nonviolent offense, if there is not an indication in your criminal history and your experiences that you are at risk of committing violence in the future, the data is clear that addressing your other needs is a better way to make our community safe. And so what we do is try to meet those needs, and if people can get the help they need, then we can dismiss those cases. Ricky is also overseeing 2 new pilot programs that we're excited to launch this year. One is aimed at young people accused of crimes, and specifically accused of assault family violence, or more specifically, disputes that arise between young people and their caregivers. Mm-hmm. We know that violence is transmitted intergenerationally, that it is learned, and we have opportunities, particularly with young people, to give the family, to give the community new and different tools that can achieve accountability, but also set them on a path to thrive and be healthy, that is not in our carceral system.
Yes.
That is in our community. So Ricky is leading that work, but we're also excited to talk with you today about an expunction expo that we are planning for Saturday, May 20th. And again, I thought the way you started this conversation was really on point, because you were talking about labels, and the way that labels follow us, and the way that labels impact us, and impact our opportunities for stability, and through that, our opportunities to be safe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we know there are so many people in our community who have been arrested, who have been accused of crimes, but for a variety of reasons were never convicted. Maybe they successfully completed a diversion program. Maybe a judge dismissed their case. Maybe they went to trial and they were acquitted. There are a variety of reasons why, but those arrest records follow them around. And when you have an arrest on your record, it makes it harder to get a job, makes it harder to get housing, makes it harder to apply for financial aid and go to school. And what that does is create instability for that person, for barriers, and that makes us less safe. And so under Ricky's leadership, we are now, what is this, our 3rd expunction expo, our 4th expunction expo that we are about to get underway. And so if you have been arrested in Travis County, but you were never convicted, you need to get that record cleared, and we want to help you do that. we want you to visit the Travis County website. It's just www.traviscountystx.gov. And there is a link there to apply for this program. And if
until Friday, April 7th, listeners, until Friday, April 7th, the information he's giving you, you need to apply. You have until Friday, April 7th. And if you really are good and have done really good things towards Melch, I might can call him personally and ask him to give you till the 8th. But
we want to serve as many people as we can. And let me also say, as we said, this is our fourth Expunction Expo.
Okay.
This will not be our last. And so we want to serve as many people as we can this time. Mm-hmm. And when we're ready, we're going to come back and let you know about the next one.
Nice.
But if we have a few minutes, maybe Ricky could tell us.
We have plenty of time.
Excellent.
So we're gonna open up the mic and let Ricky have it.
Yeah.
Talk to him.
Yeah, Ricky, maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about, give a little bit more information about people who may qualify, and then tell us a little bit about what the process is like. So they'll go online, and what happens after that.
And not just that. After you get through telling us about that, tell us about the office the managing of the office that you're doing with this particular project with the youth.
Okay.
So
First and foremost.
yeah, you on.
Okay, first and foremost, expunction probably cost anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 or $4,000. So first and foremost, the Expunction Expo is actually free of charge to the participants. That's the first thing I want to say about it. It's free of charge. Now, the way the process works is when you apply online, we can vet you pretty quickly, see if you're eligible. And what that does is it prevents people from wasting their whole day standing in line and things. When we vet you, we find out if you're eligible, we send you an email with a 30-minute appointment window. Where, like, for example, if you have a 9 o'clock appointment, you show up at 8:45, we get you in by 9, and by 9:30 you're out of there.
Wow.
In that time, you get in, we check you in, we have your folder and your petition, all your paperwork already filled out in advance based on your application. You get there, you meet with your volunteer lawyer. The Volunteer Legal Services has anywhere from 20 to 40 volunteer lawyers there. So, of course, with the district attorney, we're on the other side. So we have volunteer free lawyers for all the participants. And these lawyers are very open to engaging in talking to them about other legal issues that they may have. And in addition, once we get their expunction paperwork filled out, we give them a date and a card with the lawyer's information. We give them their case number on the spot. Our district clerk is there on the spot providing case numbers so they can track it down the road. And before they leave the building, we have a couple of things. We have the Travis County Law Library there giving free legal advice in case they have other legal issues that does not involve something that we could help them with. And we have other vendors, like, for example, if people are unemployed or underemployed, we have Indeed there. They're one of our sponsors. They talk to people about getting jobs or getting better jobs. So it's just a great experience. And like I said, mainly it's free. And I think the most important thing is you're basically in and out in an hour. It's not one of them things where you stand in line all day. You have a specific appointment that's specific to you.
Mm-hmm. You know, as he's talking, I mean, you all can't see him, but if you could just see the glee, the smile that is going as he's giving this information. You know, when you free people of just barriers and problems, it really does make you feel good on the inside. You know, and I think that a lot of people always look at, when they hear the DA's office, they look at it as a punitive, more of a punishing entity. And so for you all to be adopted and doing stuff like this, and then like you said, in your 4th year, this is really important. When we first started in the Austin area, maybe 10 or 11 years ago, and we had always worked with people in Travis County and stuff, but when we actually physically moved our office here, we used to deal with, we were like the only spot that it actually had a partner expunction leg of business through Meg Clifford in the University of Texas. They were taking people that we had, but it was just a minimum amount. And so this is really big, what you all are talking about. And if you all haven't heard or need more information, please, you can call during the time that they're here right now at 512-836-2887, or you can reach us later at the Melch Center, and we will give you the information. Continue on, Mr. Jones.
Okay. One of the things we talked about, before I started the expo, I went to Dallas. They had one, and I watched all the missteps and all the mistakes they made. So I think we started off with a bang. We had the same numbers as Dallas had, and it's a much larger county. And one of the things that Dallas taught me was you want to have it in the community. You don't want to have it in the courthouse or a government building. People
Yes.
think it's some kind of warrant roundup or trick or something like that.
Exactly.
So,
I wouldn't come.
yeah. So we had the first one, Reverend Horton and Reverend Clark helped. We had the first one at Mount Zion,
Mount Zion.
Baptist Church. And I think one of the most rewarding things for me was the news media was, and they covered it, and they wanted to get somebody to go on camera. There's a young lady that walked up to me. She was literally in tears. She said she got involved in some things that she wasn't even responsible for. She had 3 felonies arrests that were ultimately dismissed because it wasn't her, but a male counterpart who lived in her home. And apparently, you can't go to your kids' field trips if you had a felony arrest. So she was in tears, crying. She had 2 or 3 elementary school kids, and now she could go to the kids'
Wow.
field trips. So very, very powerful.
How many, Ricky? How many folks have we served through this program? How many are we hoping to serve this time around?
It's approximately 500 through our 4 expunctions, and we're trying to get at least about approximately 250 approved for this particular expunction on May 20th.
Wow.
So we have, this is work that I hope we can continue to grow. As you know, there is great need in our community. And again, look, is this the right thing to do? Of course it's the right thing to do. But it's not just the right thing to do. It is the smart thing to do for our public safety.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to continue to grow this work. As Ricky said, for folks who apply, for folks who are approved and can come get their record expunged, not only can they get their record cleared, but we want to give them access to job search services, to job training services, to voter registration, to all of the tools that they could use and opportunity to really be healthy and thrive in our community. And that's what we want and need.
And again, it's about not only just public safety, it's actually about empowering people who feel just almost depressed and worthless, because it's like, I can't do anything. Every time I go somewhere, this misdemeanor comes up, or this, and they promise me that, if I completed this, that it would be taken off my record. And a lot of times even attorneys tell them, yeah, we'll get it off your record if you're successful through this process. I can't think of the word right now, it escapes me. But when you are successful, they give you kind of like a diversion. If you complete this, then you won't have to worry about probation. We'll erase this from your history. And when in reality it is not. And people don't find that out until they either are applying for a place to live, or trying to get a job, or or even people who are trying to vote. And I want to say this again to the listening audience. It doesn't matter if you've gone to prison, if you've been on probation, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter what the offense. If you are currently not on paper, if you have satisfied your parole, you've satisfied probation or whatnot, you are eligible to register to vote. And people, you need to understand that you can don't worry about what the past was. In your present, if you're not on paper, you are eligible to vote, register to vote in the state of Texas.
Yeah. And Ricky, maybe you could, we talked about it a little bit, but if you could just share a little bit more detail about the kind of circumstances that may be eligible for people to have their record cleared.
Okay. From a misdemeanor perspective, anytime you've been arrested, you went through a pretrial diversion program, your case was dismissed, or they arrest you, they never prosecuted you, or you had some kind of deferred disposition.
That's what I meant, deferred adjudication.
Well, you do these certain things and they dismiss it on the back end. A lot of those things qualify. From a felony perspective, you were no bill by the grand jury. For example, a lot of people are arrested for like a DWI, and then they have some drugs or something in the car. They are convicted for the DWI, or they go to a DWI diversion program, and they dismiss the felony charges because you're getting the same drug and alcohol treatment. That felony that was dismissed can be expunged. So any kind of arrest where it didn't result in a conviction, whether dismissal or any kind of pretrial diversion, disposition, or anything where the case is disposed of, you can get qualified for expunction. And if you're not sure, you can go to the website and we vet you to see if you're eligible or not. Some people don't think they're qualified, but they do. And some people may have been on deferred disposition or something like that and may not qualify for an expunction. But there's another thing called a non-disclosure that you may qualify for, where it doesn't erase your record, but it seals it. And if that's your situation, we don't just tell you don't qualify for an expunction. We tell you that you do qualify for something else, and we give you resources to go and get that thing done free as well.
What about those people who have multiple county situations, that they have Travis, they may have something in Bastrop County? What about them? Will you still help them to seal, not to seal, but to expunge those things from both counties or just from Travis County?
Okay, the way it works is we only have jurisdiction here in Travis County. However, what I mentioned earlier is the law library is there. So if you have a person with a Travis County thing, we take care of the one in Travis County. When you leave your appointment, we send you right up to the law library. We have a gentleman there who's been doing expunction for probably over 20 years, probably one of the best in town. He works for our Travis County Law Library. And what he will do is give them the resources, fill the petition out for them for that other county,
Nice.
show them how to file it for free, and if they have financial issues, he helps them fill out an affidavit of inability to pay the court costs for the other county as well.
Used to be known as a pauper.
Pauper's affidavit. I didn't use that word because I didn't want to confuse nobody. Pauper's affidavit.
Yeah, that's right.
So we take care of that right there in that same meeting. Before you leave, you have all the information from the law library to take care of that other county.
And I gotta say this again, people, and this is for free. That within itself, that's a lot of work, and I know this. And even when we were dealing with Meg Clifford, they would always do the misdemeanor portion, but never touch the felony part. So that's even interesting that you all are saying that.
Of course. Well, and there are obviously some restrictions on what we can do at the district attorney's office, but our goal is really to make this opportunity as close to a one-stop shop as possible. We know that there are people struggling out there who don't have a lot of time to take away from their kids, from their work, from caring for their aging parents, all of the responsibility and struggles that all of us go through. We don't want to take people's time away from those important things, but we want to make sure that if they take the time to come in and get the record cleared, that we are making that process as easy as possible, that we are connecting them with as many resources and opportunities in that one setting as we can. And again, you've heard me say this, I cannot emphasize it enough. It is the right thing to do for that person, but it's also really important for our safety as a community.
Before we get off of here, and we still got plenty of time, because I want Ricky to keep going, but I do have a question that I definitely want you to answer before we get off here. If the way you have run the DA's office, and for those persons who are not as comfortable with your the things that you have done and the changes that you have made in the culture, how do you feel about running again and the success of the opportunity to run again? And I'm going to tell you, in case you were thinking about not running again, you have to run again. So, I just want to, but I'll let you answer that if you want to now. Or
yeah, sure. I'd be happy to take that on. I pursued this opportunity because, from my perspective, from the things that I have seen in our community, it was clear to me that our criminal justice system was broken, that it was actively doing harm to our community and undermining our safety as a community. And so I tried to be really honest when I sought this position about the changes that I thought we needed to make. I tried to be very clear and transparent about what I thought we needed to do. Over the last 2 years, we have worked hard to make good on every one of those commitments, and I believe we have. And I believe, again, that our record speaks for itself. We are one of the safest communities in the country because of that work. Our record is clear on holding people accountable, and it's clear on making sure that we are really using the data and the evidence to use strategies that will keep our community safe. So let's have some real talk for just a second here. I know that there are naysayers out there, but there are not more of them than there are of us. They are a small but vocal minority who believe that the only way we can be safe as a community is by locking up as many working class people and people of color as we can. They believe that that law enforcement is above the law and should never be held accountable regardless of what they may do or the harm that they may cause. They believe that that our criminal legal system again exists to separate people and to remove people from our community. And I think the evidence is overwhelmingly clear that that approach, that the tough on crime,
It don't work.
mass incarceration approach has failed. And we can talk about why. Listen, you know that as a country, we incarcerate more people than almost any other country in the world. We represent 5% of the world's population and over 20% of the world's population of incarcerated people. And it has had almost no impact on rates of violent crime in our community. Not only does it not work, in many instances, it actively makes us less safe. And the reality is that the overwhelming majority of people who live and work in Travis County and Austin know that. They want a system that obviously takes victims of crime seriously.
Oh, yeah.
They want there to be accountability, but they also want us to address the root causes of crime, and we are doing that. I will be running again. I'm sure there will be, there will be naysayers, but again, they represent a small portion of our community.
I call them the whiners.
And I'm happy.
Yeah.
I look forward to the opportunity to talk about our record, to talk about what we have accomplished and what we still have to accomplish together.
And I think, again, when you talk about the things that you all have implemented and that are successfully doing, such as the expunction expo that's coming up, you have to really think about there has never been in the history of the DA's office a real push for to allow people to have an opportunity with the help, maybe not direct, indirectly having the help to get their lives back in order. From this perspective, and expunction is a huge thing, because when people go and look at your record, if you do have an offense or something that happens, it is proven that your criminal history will help sometime bolster or be able to be an enhancement from it being a misdemeanor into a felony charge. And so this is so important to have this. And it's also a good thing, as Ricky was saying, to have the law library even engaged to the point where they're giving you the next set of documents that you need to maybe go to another county. Before I came this morning, I received a phone call from Health and Human Services, a referral from a young man who didn't even know he was on probation. He has a situation in Lee County, and he has a situation in Bastrop County. And that's where I founded my organization, so I still have a lot of people that we serve from Bastrop County who is just doesn't even know didn't even realize he was even sentenced to probation because he has cases that have not had any disposition at all. And so that goes to say that people, even on their records, a lot of times people don't even know these things until they go forward to try to obtain something.
Yeah, the criminal justice system is not clear. It is often confusing, and in many instances, it's counterproductive. You asked Ricky about one of the other programs in his department, and I want to talk about that for just a second and bring Ricky on to talk about it. So, again, we know that far too often our criminal legal system exacerbates challenges in people's life. It makes it more likely that people will engage in criminal conduct in the future. And I want to give you one example. We went back and we looked at 10 years of prosecution data for juveniles in our office. I wanted to know, who are we prosecuting? Why are we prosecuting kids? What for? And which kids are we prosecuting? Some of what we found was not surprising. Over the last 10 years in Travis County, the overwhelming majority of kids who were prosecuted for criminal conduct were black and brown. That's not surprising to anybody. But it is tragic and it is detrimental.
And it's disappointing to hear.
To our public safety. We also learned something else that I was surprised to learn. We learned that over those 10 years, the number one charge that was facing kids is a charge called assault family violence. And as I mentioned, it is essentially occurs when there is a dispute between a kid and their caregiver. It is a family dispute that results in someone calling the police. We also know that, for example, the incidence of homicide amongst adults that occur in domestic violence contexts is quite high. And as we said at the beginning, we know that behavior is learned, violence is transmitted. And so one of the programs that we're going to be starting this year is a program where instead of when a caregiver, a parent, grandma or grandpa, aunt is at their wit's end and they call the police because they don't know what else to do, when law enforcement shows up, they will have another option. Instead of taking their child to Gardner Betts, where they would be incarcerated, they also have the opportunity to enter into a restorative justice program where there can be a cooling off period, where they can stay with LifeWorks for a couple of days for things to settle down. And then both the child and their family can enter into a program together where over the course of several months, they would learn the tools to resolve some of the conflicts and challenges. There can be accountability for that young person. There can be healing for the victim. And we can do those things in our community.
I love it. Outside
of our carceral system. So Ricky and his team have been overseeing that work. We have a little bit of ways to go. I think we're probably a couple of months off. But let me just say there are many things I'm proud of and excited about in this work. But let me just mention one thing. This program that we're talking about, it's not just your crazy DA who is taking on the hard work of addressing the root causes of these issues. We are partnering on this program with our juvenile judge, with our juvenile probation department, with community organizations based at Houston, Tillotson, and elsewhere. We are partnering with the Austin Police Department, with the Travis County Sheriff's Office, because all of us know that in many instances, using arrest, incarceration, and prosecution only makes these situations worse. And oftentimes leads to challenges for our public safety in the future.
And I don't want to leave out the fact, because again, I'm in these meetings right now with a law enforcement from all the different counties and whatnot. and I listened to Round Rock again. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying these names on radio, but God forgive me. They talked about how they're having such a big problem in the high schools with vapes, and that they were looking for money to help that situation because basically vapes have become a big issue where they're actually sending juveniles into getting them into custody because of it. We actually have such a horrible drug thing right now that typically some of the crimes that are being committed under these horrible mind-altering drugs that are out here. I think crack is a thing of the past. It's really things that these kids are exposed to right now that are making them, and adults, they're under the influence of this, and they're committing crimes that they don't even remember happened. And so I think that what you all are talking about in this diversion, in this programming, is so important. Restorative justice is important. I know A Life Anew, which is Sherwin Patton and Sean Oliver, those persons involved in it. We'd love to be a part of that. I think that it's just great to think about alternatives to incarceration and alternatives to things to help keep the family unit together.
Absolutely. It is key to our public safety. And Ricky, I just wonder if there's there's so much great work that you are overseeing in your department. And it is why, why the department that Ricky runs is called the Department of Violence Prevention, because they're pursuing strategies that the data and evidence suggests will keep us more safe. But I wonder if there's anything more you want to say about all of the great work happening in your program, and I'm really grateful for your leadership.
I guess with regards to the restorative justice program, I think the most important thing is that these youths that come there, most of these kids in these family violence situations, traditionally they have been taken to the juvenile jail for 2 or 3 days, and then the parents be begging for their kid to come back home.
I know.
So what we're doing with this program is we're preventing these kids from entering the criminal justice program by taking them to an alternative place for those 2 or 3 days, that's cooling off period, so they don't get that exposure. And I think that's really important, that they don't get exposed to the criminal justice system at all.
And I'll say, look, I want to give a lot of credit to our juvenile judges, to our juvenile probation department. I know that they work very hard to create an environment that can address the root causes that lead to criminal conduct. But that being said, there are just some limitations to the institutions in which we work. I've obviously had the opportunity to visit our juvenile detention center, and it is a jail. It is not. At the end of the day, it doesn't look too different from our county jail where we send adults. And I think we cannot underestimate the trauma and harm that we do to young people when we criminalize them. Particularly in these kinds of situations, when you've got a dispute inside the family, which we all have. Now listen, we're going to take a look at every case. There may be some cases where there is violence and things we need to consider, but the majority of these cases don't meet that bar. These are families that need support, that need help, and that is what our approach should be. Again, not just because it is the right thing to do, but because it is the smart thing to do to keep our community safe.
It just mind boggles me as to how an hour goes so fast. I'm always happy to have a show that is so informative, and that people who are sitting next to me are agents of change. And Jose, thank you for the wonderful job that you are doing and your staff, because you can't do it alone. And for the culture and the climate that you have brought to Travis County's criminal justice system. I'm getting wrapped up that they're doing all the fingers and everything. Ricky, What's your number? Can you give your what's you all's office number? It's 512-854.
9400.
There you go. 512-854-9400. That's Ricky Jones, who is over the Department of Violence Prevention in Travis County, and of course the illustrious Jose Garza. You have about 25 seconds to say something to the listening audience.
Well, I want to just thank you again. I want to congratulate you and thank you for all of your success and for the work you have done to keep our community safe. We want to again encourage people who may have arrests on their record to come to our website, traviscountytx.gov, and go through the process, and we hope to clear your record.
And that is www.traviscountytexas.gov/district clerk expunction. And if you didn't get that information, 512-473-2525. You can call me. And as you know, your success is important to us.